Greetings and welcome to an LGR thing, and today I would like to talk about Dusk, because this game is legit. If you are a fan of games like Quake and Redneck Rampage, Blood, Heretic, Half-Life, Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, and any number of other mid to late 90s first-person shooters, then this is something that I think you should keep an eye out for once it's actually released. Which, yes, at this point it is not, so that's why this is not going to be a full review quite yet. These are just my initial thoughts on the project as I've played it so far, which at this point is just episode 1, and in the interest of full disclosures, I did get an early copy of this sent to me pro bono with no strings attached, no payments or anything like that. So yeah, I've been keeping an eye on this for a while, talking to the people behind it, and just generally getting psyched to talk about it, which is why I'm talking about it now, because even though it's not out, I just want to say something, because dude, I have been waiting for this kind of first-person throwback shooter on the PC for I don't even know how long, man. Now, I've really enjoyed games like Doom 2016. They had elements of old-school shooters in them, but, you know, that was a very thoroughly modern game with old-school roots. We've also had games like Strafe, which has some things in common with Dusk in terms of inspirations and aesthetic, but that leaned more towards being a throwaway experience for me, largely due to stuff like its over-reliance on procedural generation and run, die, rinse, repeat roguelite style gameplay. And while there's nothing wrong with those type of games, I enjoy those from time to time myself, that's not what Dusk is trying to do, and that's why I think it's pretty special. This pretended 1997 never stopped. Dusk's inspirations are very clear from the beginning, with a lovingly recreated MS-DOS style startup sequence. This continues into the options menu as well, where you can really tailor it to look as halfway modern or thoroughly retro as you want. It supports 640 by 480 and even emulates lower resolution modes than that, with options to disable bilinear filtering and limit the color depth. You can customize your crosshairs, you can downscale the play area window, and alter plenty of things like weapon bobbing and movements and camera things that make a lot of sense for games like this, because otherwise you tend to get pretty motion sick, or at least I do. And yes, Dusk is completely at home, playing at 640 by 480 at 85 Hz on a CRT. Man, this just looks right. And it's not just the aesthetic, I mean, it really is the gameplay itself that feels appropriately 1997. You're not dealing with a bunch of procedurally generated levels that half the time suck, but you're also not dealing with more linear levels that lock you into a room until you defeat all the monsters and then you go on to the next place. No, these are pretty non-linear, wide open, sometimes a little bit maze-like levels that rely on key cards to get through, and it is very much out of the 90s, but not too much so. I found it to be a satisfying mix of old-school first-person shooter level design and slightly newer old-school first-person shooter level design, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is that while it relies on key cards and backtracking, it's not to a degree that made me super irritated or got me stuck for more than a couple minutes. There are plenty of secret places to find and monster closets and all that kind of stuff, but it's not nearly as maze-like as certain shooters, and it's also not as confusing as certain ones. There's only one level that kind of got on my nerves as far as a lot of the textures being really similar that got me confused, but other than that, I mean, every area felt distinct enough. The satisfaction extends to the weapons as well, which is a pretty typical first-person shooter loadout from the 90s. You've got your melee, your pistols, shotguns, and those can be wielded akimbo. You got your super shotgun, your machine gun, your rocket launchers, or well, your explosive launchers, there's different kinds, and some sort of magical energy-like weapons, like this crossbow that really embraces that phallic theme of a lot of weapons from this time period. You're practically just shooting all the monsters with glowing green dongs. As far as the story and the protagonist, I mean, you know, they're just kind of throwaway, at least at this point. It's a mute protagonist going on. They just call him Dusk Dude. That makes sense. You get little text pop-ups and occasionally a little bit of voiceover from the evil whatever that's somewhere. But for the most part, it really is just going around, finding your way through the levels, getting key cards, getting cool weapons, shooting the crap out of everything, and interacting with the environment. I mean, there's interactable toilets, and you can pick up stuff and flush it down there because, you know, why not, man? I got through the first episode in just a little over an hour, so it really wasn't too bad. There's 10 levels with one secret level, and there is, at this point, an endless mode. It's just one map, but it sends endless waves of enemies at you, as you might imagine. Really straightforward, but I had a lot of fun with it, mainly because the traversal and the movement in general is a lot of fun, including superfluous features like an unlocked Y-axis that let you do flips in midair, as well as a dedicated button for flipping your weapon around and doing silly tricks with it in between shots. I mean, this is just completely useless, but awesome. It's that kind of over-the-top machismo attitude that I would expect from a 90s game, and it fits right in. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on Dusk at the moment. It's not a complete game. Once again, I will be doing a full review of it once it's finally out, and it will cost $20 at that point, so I will give an evaluation on whether or not I think it's worth it. Man, even just the hour and a half that it took to get through this first episode, it's already been one of my favorite experiences of 2017, so really looking forward to covering the full thing when it's out there. And yeah, hope you found this informative, and keep a lookout for this if you're into this kind of gameplay in the future. And if you enjoyed this episode of LGR, then perhaps you'd like some of my others. I normally do more scripted stuff than this, but this is just something that I was excited about, so I wanted to, say excited things about it. So stay tuned if you would like more. And as always, thank you very much for watching.